creative real estate entrepreneurs are getting it wrong. Are you leaving money on the table every time you talk to a potential seller? In this eye opening, never discussed before episode, we will pull the curtain back on the art of seller conversations, a skill not even seasoned real estate entrepreneurs often mishandle. Discover why you are avoiding conversations, or when doing them, you aren't getting more out of a deal. Today, we will uncover hidden landmines in seller conversations and how to navigate them. Also, key phrases that unlock the seller's true motivation, plus much more. So, if you are ready to elevate your creative deal income, this single episode will help you unlock what's holding you back. Start to learn your seller's mindset and uncover their true needs, whether you're looking to refine your skills or start from scratch. This time we spend together today will empower you to approach seller conversations with confidence and clarity. Today's actionable insights will unshackle you enough to start getting more deals immediately. I messed up the one sentence. I'll go back and read it again.
Oh.
I messed it up, so I'll go back. So, are you leaving money on the table every time you talk to a potential seller? In this eye-opening, never discussed before episode, we will pull back the curtain on the art of seller conversation. And here's what I messed up. A skill that even seasoned real estate entrepreneurs often mishandle. And that's an important one.
Good. Okay.
All right. So here we are. Let's handle some of the housekeeping type activity.
Mm-hmm.
So we record this podcast every Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we live stream it. And when we live stream it to two YouTube channels. One at Flipping Houses for Rookies. The other is at Creative REI Reply, Creative REI Reply. Also on LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you go to any one of the platforms and you type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, or on YouTube, you could type in Creative REI Reply. You can find us there. And you are more than welcome to join us on the podcast, because on those sites, you can type in the comments and we can answer your questions. Only if the questions pertain to the podcast. If they're outside of the podcast topic, please send us a support ticket over at flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side, there's a support ticket. And if you want to join our mastermind group, go to WhatsApp Messenger and look for Let's Talk Real Estate, or send a support ticket and I'll send you a link to join. Okay? So don't forget to subscribe to us. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to leave us a comment. And I'm glad that you're here listening. So here we go. Now that that's all the way. 5 minutes of nonsense. All right. So are you ready, Peter?
I'm listening.
Are you attentive, sir?
Oh, I'm attentive.
Are you at ease?
No. Sure, of course. Well, as as easy as you can be.
Yeah.
When you actually are thinking quite often. I had an email this morning to a company about talking to people. Even getting people to answer. This person contacted me. I answered them back, and they don't even answer me back. So I'm listening. How do you get people? Forget the conversation. How do you get them to call you back?
Well, we're going to talk about that today.
Okay.
All right. So today's plan is to start off with saying, I tell myself, but don't let it slip out of my lips.
Mm-hmm.
But I say it very, very often in my own head, and a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Here they are. Your words sound really good right now, but I won't believe them until I see the action.
Oh. And you're saying that about people you're talking to?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And I will keep the names silent
Oh
so
boy.
as to not hurt feelings. It's not you, by the way. But some of them are very close to me because I'm like, yeah, I get what you're telling me, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, it's completely true. I have days where like I didn't do enough today. I'm embarrassed, and then like, okay, I did better today. I tried at least, and I got somebody to talk to, and I got this much done, and like okay, and you feel much better about yourself. So I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
Yep. And I know that my what am I trying to say here? I know that many off my goodness, I don't know what my problem. I was having trouble reading the thing this morning too. My tongue is like tangled all up this morning. So let me start over again and get myself in position to do this. So I know that many others feel this way in today's age because this main objective is what we deal with when we're selling our creative real estate system in a box. So when we're selling creative REI reply, I know this is true because I can't tell you how many one-on-one interviews I've had. Oh, I'm going to sign up this afternoon. And then they just disappear.
Sure.
Or this is the best thing ever. And then they don't do anything. Right. So,
But you know what that makes me think of? Hate to interject, but the person on the other end, they got to be thinking the same thing. Though we might call it trust on their end, like they're listening to us talk and they're going like, "Yeah, but is it legit? Can they really do it?" So they don't know if we're going to really perform the way we think they're going to. Oh my, what a mess!
yes.
Oh God.
So it's just what you're just saying, Peter. When we're talking to people about creative REI reply, it's mostly because the system on how to succeed in creative real estate without really trying. It's like I have a system called creative REI reply that if you wanted to do creative real estate, this is the system that you could do and succeed without even trying. And I've had many dozens and dozens of people do that. Right? But back to our sellers, let's dig in there. My first point for today is simplistic, but not always simple to do. Here's a general truth that is at the core of every conversation that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
And you'll know this because you've been in a lot of houses with me, and it's not just with sellers, it's with everything, right?
Sure.
So here is the core belief, and I've never told this to you before. So, and it's probably because I needed to articulate it in words, but here are the words.
Sure.
Everything in business and in life, to be honest with you, is not a revenue event. But everything is a relationship event.
That makes sense.
So as entrepreneurs and the guy running the checkbook, like I fall into that trap. I mean, I own 3 businesses right now. I've been a serial entrepreneur since I was 9 years old. I've been really doing it for 40 years since I've been 20 years old. Right?
Yeah.
So the problem is you fall into the trap of everything is in business and in life is not a revenue event.
Yeah, of course, the trick is that's what we're trying to do, and that's the first thing on our mind. But that's not the whole story, huh? You're saying relationships.
Right. But everything is a relationship event. Right?
Yeah.
I'll give you a classic example of this. My friend Joe.
Yeah.
So how long ago did you and I work with him? How long ago was that?
3 years? 4?
4. I think it's more like 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you hung around for about 3 months.
Yep.
Out of the 6 months.
Yep.
I still to this day, every other week, I do a 3-hour coaching call with him for nothing. I don't charge him. I get a lot out of it. I get my own realizations from hearing his clients and him talk. And I mean, I feel like I get a lot out of it. But I will tell you, that burns my wife's butt. I do not ever talk about it. She'll be like, "What are you doing today?" "Oh, I have a conference call." I won't tell her that it's with him because she's like, "Oh, you better be charging for that. You're giving your information away. Oh my God." And she like just runs in on me, like how bad it is. But I can't tell you how many relationships I've created. There was even a point where he was telling his students to partner with me. Now a couple of deals we got close, but students that were having trouble, and he was like, "Just partner with Bill."
Yeah.
So it was because of the relationships, right? That's just an obvious one, but well, let's keep moving because I have more on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me read it again, just so it sinks in, okay? Everything in business and in life is not a revenue event, meaning you make money off of it.
Mm.
But everything is a relationship event. Then this saying that I just told you is followed by another accepted truth. It's not what you know, but who you know.
Huh. So how do those two connect? I know both of those now, but
Right.
how do they connect? Actually, I was working with my wife. She's working on some stuff, and like, who can we ask? Who can we check with? All right, who else can we check with? So who? I've been using that with her on something she's trying to work on. Yeah,
Right.
very much so.
Okay, so
how do they connect?
Well, I'll just give you a punchline right now, but it's not what I want to do. That deal that we bought from, the first deal we bought in Newington.
Oh, from Margaret?
Yeah.
The old lady. Yeah.
So we were in someone's house. Did we buy the house?
Not the first one, no.
Was it a revenue event?
We were trying, but it wasn't.
And what did it turn out being?
Well, on the way out, walking out the door, you had the presence of mind to turn and say, "By the way, do you know anybody that's selling a house?" And because I would say the relationship was such that he at least trusted us, he gave us him as his friend around the corner.
So it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
which
because
means
that's relationships. Relationships are with who's, not with what's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which means every seller conversation I enter into, I do not have an expectation to purchase. I'm in discovery mode. I'm looking for a relationship first. Then if I like them and they like me, we get down to what's real for them and what's real for me. In other words, we have affinity for one another.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking with one another. So we have conversation. So now we're getting down to mutual agreements that help build the affinity and propel and pushes the conversation further.
Mm.
So if you're getting people that are ghosting you, you broke this formula. You were on the phone with them. I have so many coaching clients, which is why this podcast is devised.
Mm-hmm.
So many coaching clients that tell me exactly what you just said. How come they don't answer me? Well, because you thought you had affinity, or you thought they liked you.
Yeah.
You had conversations, but you missed their reality. What do they think about? What are their reality is agreements, right? So reality is you and I agree the house is worth $300,000. That because we agree at that, the house becomes worth $300,000.
Yeah, right or wrong, we'll have a conversation. We're on the same team.
Right. So if you are telling them that it's worth $300,000 and they're saying it's worth $400,000, what just happened?
Boom. Disconnect.
Right. So what happens, being off script a little bit, is if you start evaluating and invalidating the seller with your opinions and not getting them to come to that realization on their own, they ghost you. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. This is very easy to do. It takes longer to explain it than to actually do it. Right?
Sure.
So what's happening is, and I'm going to talk about this the rest of the podcast because I have named this. I have categories, and it took me a while to figure this out. And it's probably a little too profound to do on a free podcast. But here we are, right? Because I'm going to give this podcast to my coaching clients. See, like I told you, I see too many clients, coaching clients, that are trying to create a demand for their service. Now, I'll give you a little backstory on this if you so desire. Creative REI Reply has been around for 2.5 years now. Seems hard to believe, but it is.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. September will be 3 years. Right? So we'll say 3 years because it was September of 2021. Yeah.
Okay.
That we launched it. Okay. And we've sold a lot of them. We got a bunch of members. It does amazing. The people that use it, like I said, they're doing creative real estate deals by mistake or without trying. I mean, not everybody's like that. Some people, I know that you won't agree with that because it doesn't happen for you, but it does happen to some people, right? It happens to quite a few people, right? So we keep trying to create a demand on the software. Like my two partners, two out of the three partners I have, are software guys.
Yeah.
They're not real estate guys. Well, Sean is a real estate guy or was a real estate guy. He's more into software now, but they feel like the whole world rises and sets in the software industry.
Of course. That's what they do, so that's what they would believe. That's their reality.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of dancing around this, and I just get to the point so we can get going. I don't even know why I'm telling you the story, but the point is that the missing point for them is that software is only as good as its user. Like a computer is only as good as its user, right? Like what do they say? Crap in, crap out.
Sure. Well, anything, any a car, a musical instrument, a set of tools, anything.
Right. So the trouble is that most people have trouble with software because they don't understand it because it does things behind the scenes that you can't see.
Yeah.
And you don't know why things are happening because you push the button and the ripple in the water and it ends up on another lake.
Right?
Yep. And people have trouble with that, right? So here's what I did. I haven't even told you this yet. I stopped selling Creative REI Replay.
I read that this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
The reason why is because our most valuable asset and what people want is we give you leads every day. So we started selling the leads. And when you buy our leads for $1.99 a piece, we give you the software to use for free. And it does all the work with those leads. So we're not only selling you a lead, but we're showing you what to do with that lead and how to get deals.
It's interesting because that's like connecting with the reality of the person using it. What they want is a lead, someone to talk to. So you charge them for that part.
They want a lead and they want to know what to do with the lead so that they can do deals.
Yeah.
They don't want to be a software person like my two partners.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're trying to create a demand, and this is I give you this example because we've been doing this for almost 3 years and we've been doing it wrong. Because we're not in the reality of the person that's going to use it. Like, how are we going to use it? You're not, and what I'm telling you is that I'm being way profound here, and it's probably not going to be a popular episode for those that don't get it, but for those that get it, it's going to be a popular episode. Okay, I'm being profound because lately I've been beating the drum. The best thing you could do, a brand new entrepreneur could do, is study their buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I've said for 20 years, study your sellers, no study your sellers, no study your sellers. And that's gotten me nowhere because it doesn't happen. If you study your buyer, because the buyer's paying you and the buyer's paying the deal. The buyer's the one that's opening their wallet.
Right.
So you got to use the person that votes with their wallet on what you do. A Dan Kennedy saying, right? So you got to start. So what we've been doing is we get option agreements signed, even if you don't plan on ever doing anything with the deal, and you bring it to the market and you let the market, aka the buyers, study the property, and all of a sudden you start studying the buyers because you start hearing what they're saying and what they're doing. Well, that's a bad neighborhood. That's a good neighborhood. Well, that's a big house. That's a little house. Oh, the foundation's cracked. Oh, the yard is too small. In this neighborhood, it's 2 blocks away from the school that I really want my kids to be in. It's too far from the grocery store. Like, all these things you'll figure out when you're talking to buyers. And if you talk to enough buyers, you'll know your farm market. And when you know your farm market, you'll become a big fish in a small pond in your farm market because you'll really understand your farm market by talking to enough buyers, even if it's 2,000 miles away.
You know, it's funny about that. For us, we think the seller's the customer because we're trying to do something with him. But that's like he's like the store. He's the store. The guy walking in is the buyer. That's the customer. People buying the house. That's interesting to put it that way.
So without understanding our buyers, creative real estate entrepreneurs are trying to say something. They're studying scripts and spending decades studying creative real estate so they can know what all the objections are and the handlings, thinking that there's something that they're going to say will trigger the seller to do the deal. They think that there's one sentence where the person will go, I'll do it. They think there's one little trigger, a secret little trigger that I know that they don't know that will get them deals. And that's the biggest mistake of all. Let me explain why. There's only 2 ways to give offers. This is brand new.
Oh.
There's only 2 ways to give offers.
Yeah, I haven't heard this one. So what is it?
It's approach.
Yeah.
One, and you've heard this language before, one is coffee shop style. Or 2 is former offer style.
Did you say formal?
Formal offer style. I did say formal. Formal offer style.
All right, so the first one is.
So here are the differences. A coffee shop style offer is like an ad hoc conversation. What does ad hoc mean?
Well, it means you're just having a conversation with somebody and you're not there to do anything. You're not trying to buy the house. Yeah, look it up because I don't know the definition, but I know what it.
Ad hoc to me means like, when necessary or needed. It's like it just comes up, so you talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. Ad hoc means, okay, so the seller said something, so now you're going to respond.
It's like you're in a coffee shop or having lunch with somebody, just chit chatting, like, "Oh, you got a house? Yeah, what's going on? Oh, I want to sell the house. Oh, really? What? Tell me about the house. Like, oh, okay. You guys, why do you ask? Like, well,
So ad hoc is a word that originally comes from Latin, which means for this or for this situation.
okay. Like it comes up. You didn't plan it. You didn't go in there like, I'm going to go give this guy an offer. It just kind of shows up. You have it. So it's not suspicious. It just kind of happens naturally.
It's when necessary, it's needed. Okay, which is not a way to get information. Because if the seller doesn't bring it up, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not proactive. It's not being at cause, it's being at effect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It just bounces around without any intention or conviction or helping a person. It's just a conversation that bebops around, right? It reminds me of cartoons when they have music and the bouncing ball bounces over the top of the music, right? I mean, even though music is constructed, but it reminds me that bouncing ball is just bouncing around.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
It tends to be very, very, very sloppy. You will find this conversation to be not a regular conversation. It's more like shooting from the hip. I'm sorry, shooting from the lip. That was intended, right? Without being very precise or sharp at all. Are you following me?
Yeah, and in the middle of that, the conversation could switch to the sports game or the Olympics tonight or something else because it's not dedicated. It's just kind of random. And the conversation can go that a ways. Next thing you go, crap, we're talking about the house. And it's gone.
Right.
You got to reel it back in. It just goes anywhere. It's not focused.
Right. So what you're saying is the conversation is environmentally controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody cuts in front of you in a line, coffee shop, right?
Something comes on the TV.
Or one of their friends walk in, hey, Jane, I haven't seen you in so long.
The waitress says, how's the eggs?
Right. There is no conviction. There's no hard sell, which means caring about the seller enough to help them. That's hard sell. You care about them so much that you want to help them, that you know that this is the right thing for them, and you're persistent because you know if they do this, they will be way, way better off.
Yeah.
And their outcome from the transaction won't be good. And you can see that in this coffee shop offer. The impression or feeling and opinion about doing this deal is wrapped into how much money can I make from the seller, from the investor. And from the seller sometimes, because that's the only thing the seller knows how to negotiate is they don't know there's other negotiating points. They think it's only money.
Yeah.
And often our investors or entrepreneurs are needy, very needy in this coffee stop style. Because remember, they're looking for the trigger. They're looking for that thing that says, oh, I got his interest, because they're like fishing around.
Yeah.
Right? They have a net casted and they're looking for something. But they don't know what it is. And I'm going to cover that in a little while. I'm going to cover that. At the very end, I'm going to give you a piece of information that is ridiculously, it's such truth. It's a sword that cuts through like 20 inches of steel.
Wow.
Right? So the impression or feeling and opinion about doing this deal is wrapped into money. And often it's very needy or greedy on the creative real estate entrepreneur. They have a one-track mind. Often the seller's conversations are formed without conscious thought, or on the basis of little evidence of what to do. You understand?
Yeah, well, the seller. Well, a seller is not a savvy real estate person usually. So their knowledge is very limited, but they have to be pretty defensive somewhat because it's their house, it's their money. They got to be careful. So they're operating with limited data. So that's a lot to break through.
Right. The most important part about this coffee shop type of seller conversation is the seller is aware of this sensation and is considering it undesirable.
Say that again.
Mm-hmm. The seller, so you're talking to the seller, you're an investor and you're talking to the seller and you're doing coffee shop style offers.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to be in a coffee shop. This is just an image I want.
It's casual.
Yeah. With no plan or conviction or anything. It's just, let me see what I can get. It's not a planned conversation.
Right? Mm-hmm. Falls in your lap like a hot potato.
That's what you're hoping for, right? So I said the seller, when you're doing this, the seller is aware of this sensation and is considering it undesirable.
Mm.
He feels your neediness. He feels your lack of control. And I say he, it could be a she. He feels that you're just trying to interrogate him for your secrets as a seller, like your price, your lowest price. Mm-hmm. He feels if he's giving you information, and again, it could be she, if he or she is giving you information, it would be detrimental to their side of the transaction, mostly the profit.
Uh-huh.
See?
Oh, yeah. If they tell you too much, you could use it against them.
Right.
If they tell you problems, well, then I want a discount now or whatever.
Right. So now the conversation's not two-way, sharing ideas, feelings, situations, or concerns about a transaction. It's a one-way conversation. Because remember what I said before, I said earlier, so you know you're communicating. They're acting like, or you feel like they like you, because you tell me that all the time. Well, they like me because they tell me. Mm. But are you in their reality?
Yeah, that's slightly more important, huh?
Are you on their side of the world? Are you, and I'm not even talking about empathy, like being on their side of the table. I'm talking about, are they trusting you enough to tell you things? And I'm going to go over that. Last point, this coffee shop type of conversation only continues because, now listen to this. This is very important. Mm-hmm. This is crucial. Out of the whole podcast, I think this is probably the most crucial thing that I will say.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Well, it's your podcast.
That doesn't mean anything. It's our listeners' podcast. I'm hoping I'm saying the right things.
Well,
right?
we hope we're getting their reality, right?
Yeah. Okay. And at this particular point, I'm not casting a net and doing all the things I did. The podcast recently, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they've changed because I've been surveying people and asking them what they want, and I've been doing podcasts based on what's needed and wanted. So maybe you didn't give me that answer, but a lot of others have, and that's why I'm talking about this today.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
All right. So my last point is this coffee shop type conversation only continues because its main demand is nothing more than the seller is in reach and feels like they can't escape.
Oh, Jesus. They're stuck eating the eggs, and there's a few more home fries, and the coffee got refilled, and they don't have a way to slip out the back door, and oh boy.
Or you called them up and they accepted the phone call, and now they're halfway through or a quarter of the way through, and some will hang up on you, but most will want to be polite and not want to hang up on you.
Yeah. If you can get them to pick up the phone.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, because you're saying to me how they ghost you. Like I had a really good conversation. They liked me. I talked to them. You're telling me this. You, Peter, are telling me this.
Mm-hmm.
They liked me. They tell me they like me, Bill. So this is good. They like me. I must be doing something correct. Yeah, you're a nice guy. You're polite. And you
Mm-hmm.
communicate. You communicate well. You communicate to me all the time well.
Mm-hmm.
But that third leg of the stool is missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
didn't find out what's really going on with them. You didn't find out the truth. Like, what is really, really going on there?
Yep.
You get that? So
Oh,
they're
sure.
trapped in this conversation now. They're trapped in this conversation, they feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And coffee shop type conversations generate this trap, and they feel like they can't escape.
And they're saying things that you think are true, but they might not even be true, right?
Right.
They're telling you things that they think you might want to hear to be polite, but it might not be what's really going on. That's the scary part.
Okay, so I'm not going to talk to my audience about this right now, but I'm going to say something to you personally right now.
Okay, everybody, hold your ears.
Before we started this phone conversation, you were talking about how you affect the other side,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
This is how you do it and don't know it.
Oh.
Because you're talking about you or talking about things you're interested in, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about your experiences, and they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about your ideas and your stories, and they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why in many podcasts ago, I said your stories need to be empirical, right? They need to be, is that the right word I want? They
Well,
need to be in context of, that's not the word I want. They need to be in context of telling a story that has a punchline that would help the seller have a realization on, oh, maybe that would work for me.
right. Yeah, they say blah blah blah. This problem, that problem. You go, oh, well, once upon a time I did blah blah, and it helped that guy. Go, oh, maybe that'll help me too. That's at least it relates to them. It would match their reality. It's not just a story for the sake of a story.
Right.
It better connect to this person.
So you personally are emanating or pushing out or giving the vibes that control the conversation.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
for
like,
better or for worse.
yeah, like if you don't want to have any money and you have neediness, like you're thinking, like for example, I've always say where I think it was Harv D. Eckert that I first read this like 20 years ago. I think he said where energies flow. What does the sentence say?
Oh, where attention.
Yeah, where
flows.
attention goes, energies flow, results show.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking that I need money, I need money, I need money, I need money, then what you're going to get is I need money. You're not going to get money. You're going to get the feeling of I need money. You're going to stay poor.
Yeah.
But if you think, oh, it would be kind of nice if I had $5,000 drop in my lap. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a different flow.
Yeah, one is I don't have money. The other one's I can have money, or I do have money. I will have
Well,
money.
you become what you resist, right?
Yeah. Instead of have not, it's have.
So all I'm saying is you are controlling these conversations and controlling this bad outcome with the coffee shop style offer, which is sloppy. It doesn't have intention, and you're not being focused on helping the person and staying in their reality.
And that should be happening even if we're doing, quote, a script. We need to be looking for that. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Now, let's get the other side of this, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the formal offer method, and it will become much clearer to you what I'm talking about. Okay. So, first, what's the definition of a formal offer? And this is huge. This should be written down. This should be put on your mirror, on the bedroom ceiling when you go to bed, so you look at it every day. This should be your beingness, who you are as a creative real estate entrepreneur. This is it. The definition of a formal offer.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Yep.
Guess you're not going to write it down. The seller is able to tell the creative real estate investor anything and is interested in getting a transaction done, or at least consider what can be done with everyone involved.
That first part really caught me. The seller is interested to tell us anything.
Yeah. So that's the definition of a formal offer. You're making a formal offer when the seller is able to tell the creative real estate investor or entrepreneur anything and is interested in solutions that you might propose and getting a transaction done.
Mm-hmm.
It should be really interested in solving their problem is what it should really be. Right? Or at least consider what can be done with everyone involved.
So the seller would have to feel that we're really trying to help them solve the problem to make them willing to talk to us about it, not just squeeze some money out of them or whatever we're trying to do.
You're in the reality portion with them. You're in that we're making agreements, right?
Yeah.
You don't hit or miss in a formal offer conversation. It's not like the coffee shop type.
Mm-hmm.
It's you don't hit or miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you get past the first step of relationship of an affinity, right? Because what you're doing is you're building a relationship. So what is a relationship?
Well, hopefully it's when two people can relate to each other.
There you go. Because there's communication, there's affinity, and you both talk about things that you like. I mean, think about it. The people that are closest to you, why are they closest to you? Because you have things in common. You have things that they like. That's the reality that I'm talking about. There are things that are in common, things that you like.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you're talking to a seller, it's easy to build communication because they're talking to you. And they'll tell you, Peter, oh, I like you, Peter. You're a nice guy. Right? But was there that common agreement, that common thing between you that stuck the communication and the affinity together?
Mm-hmm.
It kept it propelling. It kept it going. I want to talk to him again. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So once you get past the first step of relationship, affinity, you start working on how the future potential agreements can unfold for the seller. So you're not telling them, here's what I can do for you, Mr. Seller. And you know this because you hear me do this all the time. You would be something like, what if?
Right. What if
we were able to find a seller that could pay you $394,000 for your house instead of $300,000? Would you be interested?
Yeah.
Now listen to this. I'm telling you, I'm way profound. I'm way too deep for a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Which is probably the reason why I don't have a lot of listeners this morning. But I don't care because this is for people. The right people will totally get this.
Mm-hmm.
Now pay attention to this. This is called demonstration. We talked about this last podcast or two podcasts ago. You have to demonstrate what you can do for the seller.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that was too vague. So what is demonstration? How do you demonstrate what you can do for a seller? I'm surprised you didn't ask that question. But go ahead.
Well, I do have a question, but I'm just waiting to see if you get to it before I ask you. But you've talked about painting a picture.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, painting a picture. My question was, how do you, is there any more you can say today about how you get the seller willing to open up and really tell you? You got anything more on that in this part of the
So
podcast?
this demonstration you do demonstration by using vision drives decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Jim Camp thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get the seller to imagine how it could be. Get them involved.
Mm.
Qual check their picture. What do you see right now? How do you see it going? Could you imagine that?
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
Then very often they will feel it is their idea
Okay.
to start becoming, and then they start becoming a cheerleader for the transaction because they thought of it.
Well, what if I had some vague ideas of those things beforehand, not very well voiced or formalized, but then you hit upon it? They would think, "Oh yeah, that's what I was hoping for," and you're saying it. If that were the case, that would work.
It doesn't, they don't even have to. Have you ever heard of a lease option? No. What is that? Imagine this.
Hmm.
Imagine somebody could actually rent from you and give you, I mean, how much is your mortgage now? Oh, it's $1,300. Imagine if I could get you $1,900 a month and they rent from you and there's no landlord obligations. Imagine if they took care of all the repairs and they cut the grass and they plowed the snow and you never heard from them and you were just the bank. Could you picture that?
Hmm.
Did you know that was possible?
Hmm.
It's not hard to do. It's harder for me to explain than
Hmm.
for you to do,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so you're demonstrating how the transaction would go or could go, and you're doing it with their reality. You're not enforcing or imposing on them, this is what I'm going to do. This is
Hmm.
how it works,
Hmm.
right? You're more trying to get them to envision how it would work so they could make the decision
Hmm.
with this demonstration, right? Are you ready for this?
Hmm.
A little pat on the back for Peter.
What?
Believe it or not, Pete's one-liner does a lot of this heavy lifting for you.
Ooh.
Ask them, is it more important to get your price or make more profit? I need to put that in my script. It's on my to-do list to do. I probably will do it this week sometime. We'll see.
Hmm.
But I need to put that on my script. Is it more important to get your price or make your profit or make more profit?
Hmm.
That should be done as soon as you can get in conversation with them. Because here's what's going to happen. This question is going to set the precedence on their reality, what they're thinking, what's real to them,
Hmm.
right? Now you know the seller's core intention on the outcome of this transaction. And of course, when they say price, it's a greed emotion. Oh, I want my price.
Hmm.
And they are all about sucking their profits out of the property for another house. You know, they want to buy another house and they need a deposit, or they have debt, or they have college kids they're trying to repay. They want to downsize so they can retire. So they're trying to suck the money out of the property,
Yep. Yep.
right? The point is, we go into a demonstration of vision driving decision by talking about doing an option agreement with the greed person
Hmm.
and work the deal much like a realtor would, which we covered in episode number 417, I believe, right? Yeah, 417.
Hmm.
where we would get an option agreement. A realtor would get a listing agreement, put it on the market for 6 months. We would get an option agreement, put it on the market for 3 months.
Yeah.
We find a buyer. The buyer does the due diligence. The buyer gives us all the deal, gives us all the numbers and everything that they're willing to pay, and the buyer actually structures the deal for us. So we don't need to know how to structure deals creatively. The buyer actually structures the deal for us, and we bring it back to the seller and say, here's what I got. Would you? And they say yes, no, or they adjust.
Yep.
Right? So when they say they want all cash, you don't run, you do this deal, this option deal. And you need to make, just like the realtor, a 5 or 10% profit. They're used to that with the realtor. So they'll say, okay, so I want $300,000 for my house. Okay, good. So if you sold it with a realtor, you agree that it would cost you 5%? Yes. Okay, so can I buy the house for $285,000? Because that's what they're going to net with the realtor, right?
Well, actually less, but
yeah,
right. Yeah. Then there's the other closing costs. Yeah.
Now that's all I'm going to say here, but we covered this in great detail in podcast number 417. How creative real estate can be more than just a side gig. Now, going back to your question, right? Going back to your question, it is more important to get your price, is it more important to get your price or make more profit? The first one was get my price, and I just covered that. Sure. The next one is, I want to make more profit. Right?
Yep.
You can use the Grand Slam offer method and show the seller how you can get them up to 70% more than market value for just waiting 36 months to cash out without any landlord obligations. Which, by the way, these scripts and calculators and everything that we use to do this is in the description of today's podcast. You can go get it for free. I've only put it in. This is the third time I've ever put it in as a link. It's for free. You can go get them now.
Yep. You know what I like about it? When you're done, either way, you can come up with an answer. If they sell for cash, how much they get, and if they do the term deal, how much they get. And you actually compare the two numbers. It's quite a difference because one number, the cash, is a lower number, and the term deal is a higher number. And that
spread.
Gap, that spread is a lot of dough.
Right.
It's not just more than the selling price.
Well, on a $300,000 house, it's $100,000.
Yeah.
On a $500,000 house, it's almost $200,000.
Yeah. The difference. Right. Yeah.
So do you see how this formal offer is a precise structure with a beginning and an end to it? You go into this offer with an idea of what to do because you have this format that I just gave you. Right? It is only the true professional that makes sure he is running a formal offer discussion or meeting, even a session, like a therapy session.
Well, you are trying to help the person. Right. You're asking them personal questions and troublesome questions. So it can be therapeutic if you find a solution for them and help them. The relief you can see in a person's face is quite remarkable.
So you have to measure the agreements and the images that you're painting in their head, helping them devise in their own mind. And you need to qualify those images. Like, do you see what I mean? Tell me what that means to you. How could that be for you? What would happen to you if we did that?
How would it change your life, your family?
What would your family think of it? What would your spouse think of it? What would your son think of it? What would, you know what I mean? All these are, and I'm not going to give you a list of these because they're common sense when you're doing them, but just check, is the picture that we're creating the right picture? Are they really duplicating or completely understanding what I mean? It's as if my mind was hooked to a fax machine and my thoughts would just come over the fax machine. That's what, and you would look at it and say, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking. Or no, that's not what I was talking about. And you need to adjust it so it could be understood. You are controlling it. This is what we were talking about before the podcast. Like, how do you create the results on the other side without even knowing it? This is how you do it, or don't do it. Right? Okay, last point for today, and probably the most vital thing I see creative real estate entrepreneurs violate. Having their basic fundamentals in. Their common sense rudiments or environmental elements handled so they're not distracted in the seller conversation type session.
Really?
I told you that this, if you do this correctly, because you're gonna be dealing with the person's mental image pictures, right? Coffee shop, there's interruptions in the environment, and those imagine this get broken because somebody interrupts you. Yeah. This is in a quiet setting. I told you, you're running a formal offer discussion or meeting or even a session like a therapy session. So if the environment is not correct and there's interruptions in the environment, what happens?
So it's interesting because on my end, I make sure I have time to do it. I close the door, everything's there, I'm ready. What do we need to check for the other person to make sure they're not distracted?
It's what we call the pleasantries. You got time to talk? But I'm not even talking about that right now. I'm talking about the investor, because too many investors will be in their car going to work and they'll call a seller so they can make an offer.
Okay.
Right?
No. Nope.
I'm talking about rudiments, like knowing what information is important and take notes on it. And where do you keep those notes when hunting down the 4 datums that are most important in every deal, which is price, monthly payment, duration until paid off. I never put that in a duration until you have to pay them off. What is the duration of the agreement? Is it 3 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 8 years? But at the end, they want to be paid off. Right? So the 4 key elements that you're looking for in any deal, so you can put together a deal structure, is price, monthly payment. Let me ask you a question, Peter.
Yes.
If you're paying cash for a house, do you have a monthly payment?
No. Well,
you don't.
Well, if I'm borrowing the money, yes. If I actually had the cash, because cash is to the guy. It might be a loan for us. It depends. Could be either one.
If you took cash out of the bank, you had $200,000 in the bank, and you took $200,000 out, and you paid for the house. Do you look at the monthly payment?
I don't think you look at it, but I would know in my mind I'm losing interest because the money's not sitting there.
There you go. So if you were getting 3%, 2%, 1%, 50% interest in that money, then that means you need to up that return on investment wherever that cash is parked. Suppose you had that cash parked in the stock market, and you were making a return in the stock market of 10%.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to take it out and put it in the house if it was making less than that.
Right.
But you have to consider everything, including appreciation, the depreciation, the tax benefits, the whole story.
Chris, you're 100% right. He said, when I sold cars, we were taught to focus on the monthly payments instead of the price. It's exactly right. I was in the car business for 20 years. That's where this is coming from, right?
I'm thinking of a car now, maybe next year. I'm thinking how much do I want to pay a month? I don't care what it is. It's like monthly, a few more months or a few less months, but the monthly is the monthly. You get paid monthly. So that's what I want.
So all I'm saying is when you pay cash or you use a private lender and pay cash, you still have to look at the monthly payments.
Yeah.
So payments are not just for terms deals. Taking over somebody's payments, subject to, all that kind of stuff, right? So the 4 key elements that you need to know, and if you beat these into your head, You don't need a script. You will get the information you need. Sometimes you can do it in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, without a script, if you start off with, is the house for sale? How much you asking for the house? Right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, you're going to ask, is it more important to get your price or make more profit?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to say, well, the only way that I could actually pay $300,000 for the house is if I make monthly payments to you until it's paid off. That's the short version. You know, if I, the only way I could pay $300,000 as is, right, without any landlord obligations, and you totally relieve yourself of it, is if I make monthly payments. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Now, that's the same as asking, almost the same as asking, is it more important to get your price or make more profit?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same scenario. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like a computer. Everything's 1 or 0. The fork in the road, left or right.
That's right.
So you want to know which way you're headed.
Chris, you're right. Using a seller financing of a car is a good analogy of a subject to pitch. It's 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're 1 minute over, and I still got 2 more pages of notes. So let's just buzz through this. So the key things that you need to know, right? So you need to get your rudiments in on how and where you're going to take notes when you're hunting down the 4 key datums you need to structure any real estate transaction. And those 4 key, it's actually 5. I want you to know that we've added one. I've added one. It's actually 5. And they are, these 5 points are: 1, price; 2, monthly payment; 3, the duration until they want to be paid off; and 4, deposit if the seller brings it up only. And then we've added number 5, which you don't know about this, but I've added number 5 lately.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, when did you want to move by? Huh. I don't know why we're not asking that. We stopped asking that. You were the one that initiated this, because the question, what's more important to you, price or profit, was, you're saying to me, we stopped using some questions. Well, we stopped asking, when did you want to move by? And if it's a landlord property and not living there, then you would ask them, when did you want to close by?
Yeah.
This gives us a motivational scale. Like, how motivated are they?
Right. Because see, there's the other question. I actually found in some of our old notes. I don't think this one was mine. I think we got it from someone, but it was like, well, you say to the person, what's more important to you? Getting your price or making more profit? Because, well, what do you mean? Like, do you have to sell now, or could you wait for more money? Wait for more money? Like, what do you mean? Then you could explain whichever one they want to know, or compare both if they need.
So if you keep yourself, that's 100% correct. If you keep yourself focused on these handful of questions that you got to get in every conversation, there is no scripting. There is just go through the conversation, knowing you have the person's affinity, knowing that you have their communication, and you're working on their reality, which are these 5 points. Mm-hmm. Or 6 points, with which one's more important to you, making more money or getting your price. Right? Now we have it all. No stones will be left unturned. Those 5 or 6 points will reveal every possible thing that could or will impair the deal. It will provoke everything that you need to know about the deal. Right? You know what this is like, Peter, for me? This reminds me of the gopher popping up out of the golf course holes in the movie Caddyshack. You remember that?
Yeah, sure, of course.
It handles all that, right?
But I think you've also said you can find motivations at each of those points too, because if you look at the script, there's not like one spot you go, what's your motivation, what's your reality? So at each of those, you could find out more what the person's trying to do, what's important.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Gopher. Yeah, Chris says, yeah, laugh out loud, yeah. It's the gopher popping out of the hole in the golf course. And you hit it. With as long as you hit these 5 or 6 points, you got punchline that I was going to give to you. The difference between a coffee shop offer style and a former offer style is a creative real estate entrepreneur professional is aware and observant enough to understand what he is looking for and what information is important. And the coffee shop style offer doesn't think he has to use a structure and will go into seller conversations unprepared and ad hoc the whole deal, plus rely on his or her memory without strategy or conscious intention or conviction to help the seller. I want to read both of those again because it's important. So the difference between a coffee shop style and a former offer style is a creative real estate entrepreneur professional is aware and observant enough to understand what he is looking for and what information was important. And the coffee shop style doesn't think he has to use a structure and will go into a seller conversation unprepared and ad hoc the whole deal, plus rely on his or her memory without strategy or conscious intention or conviction to help the seller. It's sloppy.
Mm.
Think of it this way. Would give me Robert Redford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would he be Robert Redford if he didn't memorize his lines and he ad hoc them when he went onto in front of the camera?
Oh no, he'd be Robin Williams.
Yeah.
But
right.
Not everybody's Robin Williams.
Right.
So don't try it.
Because there's other scripts in front of him, other scripts behind him, right? It's got to fit into the flow. Mm-hmm. Right? Now I warn you, you thinker brains that too often fall into paralysis of analysis and feel you need every answer and clever rebuttal handlings to handle deals or to make deals, you missed the vital point of today's podcast. It's who you know, not what you know. And if you're trying to figure out all the what stuff, you missed the point of today's podcast. Everything in your business and life is not a revenue event, but everything is a relationship event. So just talking to someone enough that you help them with their awareness of his or her own environment or situation about this house is enough to be like, now you become who you know. You become that who. You become that who with them.
You're who for them. They're who.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the way I understand it from you and all the things we've worked on is if you really have the person's reality, what they're trying to do. Well, let's say this. When you don't, that's why you get a lot of objections, right? Because you're not tracking with them. So they're going to go, no, 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 no. If you track with the person, you're getting them, they're not going to have as many objections anyways. No?
Demonstrate by painting pictures in their mind how the seller can get their desired outcome, overthrows everything else in the name of help and trust.
Oh, you were going to say that anyway. Yeah.
You become who they know and not the loss. I don't know why I wrote that. Oh, and not the loss, because they have loss from what they used to know. They tried to sell this house, or they're trying to sell this house, and they can't sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You become right. So So what they know hasn't sold the house.
Yeah.
But then they meet you, and then you become who they know.
Yeah.
And get it done. It's not because what they know didn't sell the house. Because they're still talking to you. They still have a house for sale.
Yep.
So what they know doesn't matter because it hasn't sold the house up until now. Their price is too high, too low. They don't know how to market it. They couldn't handle the realtor. How many times you hear that? The realtor was horrible. No, you were horrible, and the realtor didn't do a good job. Because realtors are like attorneys and like doctors and like all the other professionals. You are the person that they're working for. You are the person paying them. They work for you. They do what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put it. Most people put a house for sale with a realtor and they put it on automaticity. And oh yeah, someday I'm going to get a check for $80,000. And then when they get time for the check, they realize, oh wait a minute, the realtor took a whole lot of money to give me that to get that house done. Wait, I didn't count on that. Oh my God, it cost this much for that and that much for this. I didn't know that. And you could sidestep all that by doing what I told you today.
Yep.
Okay. Was a bit profound today. I hope I got my point across, but it's important. So don't forget to like us, like this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us so you know when we're here and doing it again. Chris, thank you for being here every single week. You're a dedicated listener. Thank you very much. And a few others that aren't here. So he said, great episode, Bill and Pete. You did. Thank you. All right, good. So don't forget to like us. Don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Upper right-hand side is a support ticket. And make sure you grab the document that's only been on a 418 podcast. It's only been in 3. The reason why is because we sell this document in Creative REI Replay. People pay $1,500 and a few $100s a month to have this document. And you're getting it for free today. So go into the description, click on that link, and download the documents. Most important is the offer checklist. And the offer checklist is, at first, put your rudiments in so you could be ready to have a seller offer session.
Yep.
So you can make sure you are in the groove with the seller, and they will communicate to you and tell you really what's going on. And then they'll be interested, they'll be vested, they'll have affinity, they'll be talking to you, and you will be glad that you did that because all of a sudden offers will start sticking. Okay? Thanks again for your support. Flourish and prosper. We will talk to you again on episode number 419.